Miracles come while we in the fight. Don't give up and hold him tight. You will have a visible battle scar, but never forget who you are and fight, fight, fight.
Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. Embracing the Fight was created to help normalize the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. So if you think about it, who really wants someone to know that they have something wrong, right? Well, I decided to put myself out there first to share my story. And I'm chronicling my journey through thyroid cancer. And as you can see, all is going well. It's going very, very well. So I don't have another doctor's visit for maybe another month or so because I still haven't heard anything concerning the tumor markers. I did get a note though in my patient portal that I admit I haven't taken a moment to look at because I'm already, trusting God that all is well and not worried or anything about it. So I'll look at it probably a little later on today, but I will look at it. And I may do a short so you all can know, what it says. But I started to sit around and I started to think about, what could I talk to you about today, considering, I haven't seen my endocrinologist or hematologist or neurologist in quite some time. So, last time I talked about accountability, helping me to be more consistent when it comes to, working out, losing weight. So I started doing some searching within myself and it's like, well, why in the world, am I not consistent? What is it, that I'm doing that's keeping me from being consistent like I should be? So today's episode, I want to talk to you about setting up boundaries. All right. So what would you consider to be a boundary? Think about it. States have boundaries. A state line is a boundary. It lets you know where one state ends and one state begins, right? Also, bodies of water, they have boundaries as well because you go from water to land. But what about people? People should have boundaries too, right? Imagine if all day long you sit on social media and all you do is look at what, other people do. You haven't set up a boundary for yourself to say, I need a social media cutoff time. Because otherwise, you're going to spend more time looking at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those different social media platforms that you won't get to build yourself. So imagine if you're trying to be an influencer of some type and all you ever do is spend time looking at other people's stuff. I understand, you might want to go and you might want to study someone who's doing something similar to what you'd like to do. But at the same time, you have to put forth the effort. You have to put forth the work. So I found myself, just looking at different people working out, their different regimens. And I was like, how do I pattern myself after this? But I got so deep into it that I never even walked the first mile. I never did the first, jumping jack. I didn't get a rope. I didn't do anything to do any jump rope or I didn't do a push up, sit up, none of that. So it's like you have to set up a boundary, for yourself in order to say, okay, this is what I want to do. You have to give yourself a goal. But when you give yourself a goal, in order for that goal to succeed, you have to set a boundary around it. Otherwise, a goal is just a goal if there's no effort and there's nothing there that's going to help propel you towards that goal. Another way that people can set boundaries is by learning to say no. So I have a major issue with saying no. I feel like I have all kinds of energy and I have lots of knowledge and I'm just an encourager by nature. So anytime anyone comes to me with anything, whether they're having issues with relationships or they're having problems at work Or just say they want some type of personal improvement that they're thinking about. I'll sit there, I'll listen for hours. And I will just gather information and offer solutions, and will agree to work with the person and hold them accountable and all this. And I'll do all that for them. But then when it comes to me, it's like, oh, I'll just do that later. So I have to learn to say no or not now, because that person's life will become mine. Basically, I'll be living vicariously through them, and that won't even be voluntary. It'll just be because I didn't know how to say no. So another way that you can set boundaries is with yourself. For instance, if you know that you turn on a certain channel, like if it's Lifetime, you know how those Lifetime movies come on, and then as the credits are rolling, the next one comes on right behind it and you're trapped. So after I had surgery, I felt like I was trapped in a Lifetime marathon with my mom. I mean, we watched every Christmas movie on Lifetime. We watched every Christmas movie, on Hallmark. And it was just one thing after the next, one thing after the next. And I was enjoying it, even though I don't really, watch TV like that. But because I was in the house and I'd had surgery and I couldn't get out like that, I was kind of consigned to the fact that, okay, watching TV is not so bad. Because after I read books for so long, at that point, kind of holding my head down, it was bothering my neck. So I really could only like sit back and look at TV. Otherwise, I'd be sitting back, holding the book up in front of my face, like that. And after a while, I guess I could say my arms would get tired, but I could have done some audiobooks, whatever. I wanted to watch TV with my mom, so that's what I did. But anyway, I was saying that to say this. If you find yourself trapped in front of the TV and your goals being left undone, you need to set a boundary with yourself to say that, okay, I can enjoy TV, but only for a set amount of time. And, there's so much technology out there. Reruns happen. You can watch it later, or you can record it, watch it later. You can also get the highlights if you want, if you don't want to watch the whole thing. If you just want to know, what happened. Heck, you can look at Facebook to see what happened, but then you have to limit your time on social media too. So you have to sit down and decide what's important. What is it that you're seeking or you're trying to do? For me, I want to get better. Better financially, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Now, all four of those things can't happen if I'm trapped social media, in somebody else's world, TV, and then if I just get lost, just in general, because sometimes your thoughts will take over and you have to figure out, how to regain your focus. So what you need to do with that, when it comes to regaining your focus, give yourself an elimination diet. And you say, what's an elimination diet? Just like with food, you restrict, the things that, will harm you, that'll harm your focus. You restrict those things that'll keep you from keeping these boundaries. You restrict those things that will cause you to go off on a tangent, or to, just lose everything that you're trying to do to make yourself be a better person. So what does an elimination diet look like? Imagine this. If you like to write, or say if you do voice notes, when you start noticing that you're drifting away from whatever it is that you're trying to do, take note of that thing and then determine if that thing is going to help you or hinder you. And if it's one of those things that'll hinder you, that's pretty simple. Get rid of it. Let me give you an example. Imagine you sit down, you say, I'm going to start a new business, right? And you're going through the process of setting up your EIN number to make sure that you're right with the IRS, right? So you pull up the IRS website, you're clicking on taxpayer EIN, phone rings. Do you answer the phone right then? Or do you finish the task and then call the person back? So if you're the one who says, yeah, I answer the phone because, it could be something important, it could be this, it could be that. All right. So imagine you're the one that answered the phone. When you answer the phone, you have a 2-hour long conversation, right? 2-hour long conversation's over with. You go back to the page on the IRS website or irs.gov and you see that it's timed out. All right, you say, no problem, let me start over. Well, guess what? At about 7 o'clock, they stop taking entries, for the EIN. So say for instance, you look down, it's 7:02. You missed it by 2 minutes. So you didn't get to do what you needed to do to take the steps to start your business. So you push that off, for some time. So then the next day comes, okay? You remember, okay, I got to do this before 7 o'clock, right? But at the same time, you also had a meeting, a network opportunity that you just sit in on a Zoom call and you had a chance to look at a lot of different people and you wouldn't necessarily get to talk. But say you're in this meeting and you get a chance to hear from people that are experienced in the area that you're trying to start a business. But you had a Zoom call on the screen and you say, okay, I had a Zoom call over here and I'm going to work on my EIN over here. Okay, so you're doing your EIN. You're answering all the questions. You see something on there that you don't quite understand what it is, so you take a moment to click on the link next to it to read it to see what it is. And now you're solely, focused on this. And then you look over and you see the Zoom call has ended. So you missed the opportunity to listen to and meet these people because the stuff you should have done yesterday got moved in because you did not set up your boundary. So imagine if it had gone like this. You're doing your EIN the first day. Phone rings, you don't answer right away. You complete the EIN. You look over, you see who called you. You call them back. You talk for 15 minutes. You explain to them that I have a very important Zoom call that I'm going to be on tomorrow, and I'm looking for specific answers for certain questions, and I don't want to forget my questions, so I need to jot these down. Even though I won't necessarily get to ask them, if someone hits on any of these points, I can take notes and put them here and there and refer back to them. And what will that do? That will help my business to grow. If the person that's talking to you becomes angry, that means they're not necessarily for you, right? Because whatever they have going on or whatever moment, they should be respectful enough to see that this means something to you. And they should be a friend enough to say, okay, I might have XYZ going on, but let me give you your time to take care of that. Because once that's done, you may have set up some free time just to spend with them. And wouldn't you rather have that free time spent laughing and joking than being resentful and angry because you gave them that time because they kept pushing the issue and you didn't get something done that you needed done? So what I really want you to do is sit down and think about those things and say, okay, I have to eliminate the things that are keeping me from being my greatest self. And in order to do that, you have to be honest with yourself. Because a lot of people will say, oh, well, I can multitask. I can feed a baby. I can iron. I can what? Well, people really don't iron too terribly much anymore, right? Because everything's wrinkle free. So I can do laundry. I can feed a baby. I can clean my home. I can write the next part of my business plan, or I can set up shipments for my business plan, or I can hire someone. I can do all these things all at once. Sure, you may be able to do all those things, but are you giving the proper amount of time and care to those things? Because what happens when, say, you feed the baby, but you don't birth the baby? Then little baby got gas and crying and upset, and you realize it, but it's like it's a little too late to realize it because now a little child is fussy and hurting, okay? And then say you wash your clothes, but you forget they're in the washing machine, you leave them in there, and then a couple of days later, maybe you open the washing machine up and what's that smell? So now you got mildew clothes because you're feeding the baby, you're doing all these other things, and you forgot to get your clothes out of the washing machine. So focus is very important when you're setting boundaries too. So you have to say, I may be a multitasker, but limit yourself to the amount of tasks that you take on. I'm not saying, there's not some anomaly out there, somebody who can do it all. That may be possible, but a lot of us aren't like that. Now, I can do a whole lot of things, but I'm not gonna try to do 10 things, at one time, because what'll happen with me, and this is just me personally, I'll sit there and I'll get to a point where I don't do nothing because I'm like, good grief, I don't do anything at all. I'll sit there and say, it's too much. Which one do I start with? Because if I do this one and leave this one behind, this is left over and that's left over. And then I'm just spinning my wheels. So I know that in order for me to be successful, I need to lay it out. I need to say, this is what I plan to do today. So after the tennis tournament this weekend, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I said, I didn't do, any exercise. I was exhausted. I slept for a very long time, and I think, that was healing for me. That really helped my body, at the same time. Even though I wasn't victorious this time, I did have a whole lot of fun, and I got a chance to meet, some really, really nice, really interesting, really good people. And I think that's way more important than winning. I probably wouldn't have said that when I was younger, when I was beating the mess out of everybody, but I'm saying that now because friendships, relationships, those things are what, help you grow and help you to feel better, emotionally, because imagine going through this life with no one. There are people out there like that. And I don't know, exactly how they deal with that or how that works, because I couldn't imagine not being able to pick up the phone and talk to just someone, and be able to share some emotions. But hopefully those people have set, some boundaries, so I'm not on the phone with them for 3 hours, because I will talk to you that long, especially if you need something. But I'm working on it. Believe me, I am working on it. But back to the tennis tournament. I had the opportunity to participate in the Sowing Seeds tennis tournament. Rob Perry is the owner, and he is the tennis pro that teaches inner city youth how to play tennis over in St. Petersburg, Florida. And there were over 200 people in this tournament, and they raised money, for his programs. We had some companies that gave rackets to the kids. Actually, it was my company, the company that I work for. They provided rackets to the children. And if you had seen those kids with those rackets and getting those boxes of those brand new shoes, I'm not exactly sure, who gave the brand new shoes, but it was amazing. You could see that there's a huge impact that's going on, in the community because of what Rob is doing with Sowing Seeds. And that's just an example of what it's like if you take the time, to focus on the one thing that your heart is pulling you toward. Now, is everything about, what he does or what that organization does, is everything about it perfect? No, it's not. But it is designed to help the kids, and it is hitting its mark because he is doing exactly what he should do to try to move that program forward. So what is it that you're doing? What is it that is burning in your heart for you to do? Because I know I've talked to a lot of people, and it's interesting that when these folks come up to me, in the grocery store, I had a lady come up to me in Sam's, and she was just telling me that I look familiar. And I thought it was interesting because, I didn't even put, 2 and 2 together. And she's like, you really look familiar. And I was like, well, okay. And we were trying to guess. We're like talking church, and we're talking, tennis and neighborhoods and all this different stuff. And finally she says, embracing the fight. And I'm like, yes, that is I. I am the digital creator and host of Embracing the Fight. And she told me that the episode that really made her watch was knowing her numbers, because she didn't really know anything, about her family history, and all that stuff really was important, but because she was adopted. And it was just interesting how she could see me and say, you that person. And then she started to talk about, all she wanted to do and where her life was headed. And they had told her that she had some form of melanoma. And she was like, now I know I need to go to the doctor. I need to ask this question. I need to look at this. I need to look at that. I need to do some research. And, I shouldn't just be afraid of what it is that I'm dealing with. And she was like, I appreciate you so much. And I've shared it. And that did my heart well. Just to know that the thing that I love, the thing that I'm focusing on right now is helping other people. So I'm saying to you that the whole premise of embracing the fight is for it to catch fire. It's for not just for you to, like, subscribe, share, but for it to make a difference in your life. For it to help give you strength, for you to see that even though adversity may come, there's always a bright side to something that's going on in your life. I mean, trouble doesn't just come and beat you down the whole time and there's nothing there to help you at all. I mean, God is there with you during this process. You have to know that He's with you. He is there. All you have to do is trust Him. Yeah, I know you're saying, oh, that's easy. Oh, you can say that because, you feel like you're on the other side of what your diagnosis is. Sure, I am on the other side of it. But who's to say that something else might not come along? Think about it. Every day you live, there's no guarantee that it's going to be the same as it was the day before. So with that being said, I encourage you to find out what it is that's inside of you that is screaming to get out. Not that voice in your head is telling you hate your job and you don't want to go to work today and all that. It's that other little voice inside of you that says, you know what? You wouldn't hate work if you did this. Or do you find yourself, attached to or loving something or constantly thinking about something? And I'm talking about outside of your sweet little husband or your wife or your boyfriend, your girlfriend. I mean, something that truly draws your heart, truly draws your soul, truly draws your spirit. And if that something comes to mind, start writing it down. Start taking the steps to see what it's going to take to give that thing life. Because if you think about it, whatever it is, if that's your purpose, the money is going to come. You won't have to worry about it. You'll just have to do whatever it is to the best of your ability, and you cannot give up. Sure, you may hit some pitfalls here and there, but all in all, you'll be feeding your spirit. You'll be feeding your emotions. And then at the same time, your whole mood is just going to be better because you're doing something that you love. So take that time today, just to sit down and figure out what it is. But once you figure out what it is, set some boundaries. Because if you don't, you're setting yourself up to fail. Because you don't want to be all over the place, figuring out what this is. So for instance, say that you love playing the violin. All right. You're going to sit down and talk about what it is that you love about this violin. You set boundaries to say, I'm going to practice violin from this time to this time. Or I'm going to go to the orchestra on this day and that day. Or I want to go to a music festival and go and find an area where they're focusing strictly on violins. But you have to do something. It all can't continue to play in your mind. You can't continue to watch social media and cheer for that person that's doing an amazing thing with the violin on Instagram. You can be that person. You can be what the next child sees and says, you know what, mommy, daddy, I want to do that because that person looks great. They look happy. They look fulfilled. And not that they're saying, oh, I want to do it because of the money. We have to change that. Because money does not necessarily bring you happiness. Sure, it buys you a whole heck of a lot of things. It might make you a little bit happier, but it does not buy you pure happiness. If you think about it, there are several people that were extremely rich that committed suicide. So there's no happiness in that. What I'm saying is, find out what it is that's deeply rooted in you that needs to come out to be a blessing to the world. That's what I'm planning on doing. That's why I'm embracing the fight with you. There's some other things that I'm doing in the background that I'm trying to watch grow, and I'm just so excited about it. I won't tell you all what it is just yet, but once it comes to fruition and it's really, really growing and it's taking off, then I'll be able to share it with you. And that's a boundary I've actually set, for myself, to hold some things close. Because sometimes when you share things with people, they don't share in the same level of joy with you. Sometimes they're sitting there saying, well, she's trying something else. She's not going to do anything with it, or, oh, that's going to fail. You don't need people to speak negative things into the atmosphere for you. So sometimes you need to hold those things close to you. Talk to God about it and let him work it out. Let him be the one to get the glory for what you've done. Because, when you were trying to do it in your strength before, it didn't necessarily come out the way you wanted to come out. And then people had their opinions. They had their thoughts. They had their feelings about what you did. But when God does it, he gets the glory, and you get the true benefit of his glory. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. Thank you so much.